Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Suffolk Non-League Show. I am James. He is Adam. We are live across YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter for the second week running, and it's been a mental week in terms of news across Suffolk. It has gone absolutely crazy, especially within the last 24 hours, but we are live and we are ready for your comments and all of your feedback. We want you guys to get involved as you did in the last show. You absolutely killed it. Adam, do you know how many people checked in and watched last week's episode?
So straight after the episode, we had a count of about 800. Goodness knows where it went after that week, because I know it went onto YouTube, which is the important bit.
You absolutely smashed it, right? 1,600 people watched last week's episode. Just think about that number. 1,600 people watched last week. YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. That, honestly, when I counted up those numbers, absolutely blew my mind. Really, really did. I just want to say on behalf of myself and Adam, thank you so much if you were one of those 1,600 people that checked in and watched it. We really, really appreciate it. How do you think last week went?
Better than I could ever have imagined, if I'm honest. The thing that I went away with, like, really smiling about was the interaction from everyone.
Yeah.
Like, we got the news stories down that we wanted to, and we had a chat outside of them, which was brilliant. But everyone piling in the comments and getting involved literally made it. I was proper chuffed, like, coming away from it. More of the same.
Definitely. Yeah, it went unbelievably well last week, and you guys are already well and truly in the chat. Welcome this evening, Corley. Hello, mate. Hope you're doing well. Connor, again, last week you were here. You smashed it with your comments. We want you doing the exact same thing, mate. Evening to you. Alex, again, evening, gentlemen. Evening, mate. Spencer Hume. And we have also got Drew, who missed last week's episode. He wasn't here live, but he's here tonight. Hopefully smash that figure. I don't know if we get 1,600, but if we get half that number, I'll be well and truly chuffed, to be honest. We've got Fox in the box. Evening, lads. Alex, evening, gents. And Tony Mac, evening, boys. Yeah, it's honestly, we can't thank you guys enough for your support last week. It really, really does mean a lot. But we have got some special thanks to do, Adam, before we get even further into this. We said to you guys at one point during the live stream last week that there are a number of ways in which you can donate towards the channel if you want to help towards the running cost of things like the live show, general bits and pieces, really, the equipment, all that kind of stuff like that. Patreon and also Ko-fi links were available in the description. I said, if you want to go and check those out, if you want to donate towards it, you can. And you honestly, absolutely blown away. We've now got an updated list here, Adam. Chris, Lewis, Wombat, Vincent Ford, Sanch, Portman Rovers, and Connor Ellis have all jumped on that to help support the channel. Really cannot thank you guys enough. You've been, for you guys who have donated. We didn't expect it, did we, Adam?
No, not at all. Not at all. Like, it's a real shame that, like, on Ko-fi and that we can't write little messages of thanks back and that, but please, like, appreciate our massive gratitude, because it's just going to make sure that we can keep doing what we're doing and hopefully make it bigger and better for everybody,
Yeah, definitely. We've had a few more comments coming in, Adam. Let's have a look. Jamie is in the house. Hello, mate. Hope you are doing well. We've got the FM editor, a good friend of mine from the old days of Football Manager content on the channel. God, that seems like a lifetime ago. Watched last week, really enjoyed it, and watching again. Matchday Marketing, got you on series link. Love that. Absolutely love that. That's what we want. Yeah, but Bill Case, evening, fellas. Looking forward to getting some FA Cup fever, and best wishes to all local matches. Yeah, we really, really are, Bill. We really are. We have got so much to talk about and go through tonight. If you want to be on the show, put in the comments that you want to come on, and we will send you the link and we'll get you on the screen. Or if you just want to appear by audio, that's absolutely fine. Just think of it like a radio show, where you're calling in after an Ipswich match, after another defeat. Sorry, Adam. And you want to vent and frustrate. That's absolutely fine. That's absolutely fine.
It, am I?
Sorry?
I'm not going to dispute another defeat from Ipswich, am I?
Definitely not. Adam, where do we even start tonight? I think we have to kick things off with the latest news coming from Woodbridge, and Carlos Edwards. He's gone. No longer part of the management team at Woodbridge. Did you see this coming, first of all, before we get into the statement and the nitty-gritty of it?
I can't say I saw it coming, but I thought it was a bit of an odd situation when I saw last season he went to do dual registration with Bury, because it doesn't make his position untenable, but it does make it difficult to carry out. It was clear that he could play for Bury whenever he didn't have commitments with Woodbridge, but I mean, how often would that actually be? So
that's a very good point. Did
I see it coming? Not exactly, but I wasn't genuinely sure what the future would be for Carlos at Woodbridge. I thought it was an amazing recruitment to actually get him on board as a coach, because he'd done so much for him as a player. It just seemed like the right thing to do. So this must have been a hard decision, but done in the right spirit, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I first got wind of this because somebody messaged me yesterday saying that he actually was playing another match on Friday night. And then when the news broke, I also had somebody message me about 10 minutes later saying, he was at the game on Friday night playing for Bury when Woodbridge were meant to be playing. So it's a weird one. I have to admit, I thought he was going to still be here this season. I thought if what was working last season in terms of that dual registration, if the club from both sides, if Bury and Woodbridge were both happy with it, then carry on as normal, as far as I'm concerned. But they have come out with a statement, and I'm just going to bring it up on the screen for you. Part 1 is where they talk about they've regrettably taken the difficult decision to relinquish Carlos Edwards of his managerial duties at the club with immediate effect. The decision was not taken lightly, but one which the entire board were forced to make over the weekend. So that does come back to the point of the game on Friday night. Carlos had been playing for Bury on occasions, and there hadn't been a fixture clash with Woodbridge, and that was with the consent of Woodbridge. So that part is crucial, I feel, with their consent. However, the board insists that as manager, Woodbridge Town Football Club and the required duties associated with the role should come first for the benefit of players, supporters, and the club as a whole. The level of commitment is a must, and unfortunately it has recently become an issue that the board believe have made the manager's position untenable, which that's a hell of a statement to come out with, isn't it, Adam?
It's pretty strong, isn't it? To be honest, it really is strong. But I've got to be honest, I kind of agree with it. Like, what must the dressing room be thinking if their manager's not turning up, but he's turning out for another side? Yeah.
It does. It kind of beggars the question. Well, why are you not playing for us?
Yeah, because it's
if you're still focused on playing, you should be playing here.
Yep.
You know, that's just my kind of personal take on it. I think the line at the bottom really did kind of make me chuckle. Carlos is still signed on as a Woodbridge Town player this season, and we would hope to see him pull on the black and white shirt again. I somehow can't see that happening, but
he's 41 and he's still a really good player, and he's almost like clinging on to the tails of the coat, sort of begging him just to be part of that setup. But I much agree, I can't see it happening, to be honest.
No, definitely. But they have been very swift in making a new appointment, and we've seen it on Twitter today that Glenn Snell will take over as caretaker manager and has drafted in Leon Moore. Now, for those of you who don't know, Leon is actually my cousin, so I'm thrilled, absolutely made up for him. He was messaging me last night saying, "You're going to be shocked. There's some big news coming," and he wouldn't tell me what. He just said there's some big news happening. So he built up the suspense for me. And Leon has come out with a statement on here saying, "I'd like to thank the chairman and Woodbridge Town for giving me this opportunity to come in as caretaker manager alongside Snelly. It's not an ideal situation we find ourselves in this close to the start of the season, but we're here to win as many games as possible whilst playing an entertaining brand of football." And as the bottom line on there reads, Adam, Glenn and Leon's first game is the FA Cup time against Biggleswade. And we were talking before we went live. That's a blooming hard tie to start things off with. That's not an easy game at all, is it?
No, I'd pick that out as a big tie of the round anyway, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
It's all going to come down to how the recruitment at Woodbridge has gone, and how quickly people have settled after the friendlies. I'm not completely up on how their pre-season went at Woodbridge, if I'm completely honest, but I take it hasn't really ended all that well. But it's really a case of in the deep end now for the caretaker management and make it their own.
Yeah, definitely. Ben Moore's got involved in the comments, and Woodbridge will be interesting to see how they get on and how Carlos will fare in terms of playing. I mean, let's start off with the first part of it. How do you think Woodbridge will get on without him?
Not every time I've seen them play, he kind of makes them tick, if I'm honest.
Right.
He's a really good, reliable body in that team. And like I say, now, despite his age, you can tell he's been a professional at the very highest level, with a lot of games under his belt. I think it's like every team. There isn't a team based around one player, but you can lose a player from games if he doesn't come back and play and be worse off. I don't mind saying that.
Yeah.
And his experience around the dressing room as well shouldn't be underestimated.
Yeah, so based on that, in terms of how he's going to be getting on playing wise, if he is, if effectively he decides that actually everything that's happened, I don't really want to be part of this kind of thing moving forward. I'm going to fully commit to Bury.
Yeah.
How many games realistically can he get there? Because they're a team pushing up, pushing for promotion. They were in the playoffs last season, missed out because of everything that went on. So realistically, game time wise, what is he likely to get? Is he that level still for you? Because you obviously saw him more last season than I did.
I wouldn't say he's at that level consistently. No, like I think where I'd say what my concern would be is that he's surely going to come under a serious amount of competition from youth that are pushing for it. Bury.
Yeah,
Bury have got a decent youth setup. I'm not afraid to say Carlos is a decent player. Bury have got a good youth setup. The youth players are going to be wondering what their future is at the club if there's a 41-year-old that's ahead of them, no matter what his background is. I'm sure he's got relations with Alan Lee at Bury as well. And the best thing to do may be to really instill him as a strong part of the coaching team rather than worry about having him in and about the first team playing squad every week, because he could do more harm than good, really.
So maybe something similar to what he had at Woodbridge in terms of a player coach that he can dip in as and when required, with his main focus being on what he's doing as a bigger picture. Yeah,
I think so. And he's going to be wanting to reduce the playing time, surely, like at some point. I'm sure, like in non-league, there's plenty of examples where there's still people going at the age of 50, but like I don't think at that level, like anyone can be fooled into thinking that, he will just keep going. And especially stepping up a level.
Yeah, we've had Kurt get involved in the show. Obviously, a big player for Elmswell down in the SIO. Said, not sure if it was due to availability, but Bury were playing a diamond in midfield and wing back were up and down all the time. Not sure Carlos has that in his locker nowadays, if that is the system. Good spot from that one.
That's, strong comment. I would tend to agree. When I have seen him play, he hasn't been the quickest. Like he's been a distributor, really. They'll play the ball into him and he'll ping balls about, but I can't say he's famed for his sprinting end to end.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is so important as well these days. The recovery running is just as important as the surges forward.
Yeah, definitely. Spencer's also got involved. Watched Woodbridge play Stanway Rovers last season in the Vars replay, and Carlos ran the game. He was unreal. He's still got something about him. It's just where does he fit in? That's the big thing. It depends on what role you're ideally wanting to take, But from a Bury's perspective, it's a win-win situation, because as much as it's a shame for Woodbridge and how it's come about, he's now there full time. They can use him as much as they want now, rather than can you play? No, I can't. And I said they've now got this guy with all of his experience and know-how, and has still got something about him.
I think Woodbridge clearly recognised that statement is very much open arms, come and play for us.
Yeah.
So I'd love to know what's going on inside his mind as to, do I actually want to play for you? Like, without stirring the pot at all, because he could either think, you know what, that wasn't for me anymore.
Yeah.
I doubt he does think that, because he was doing all right. But it wouldn't be a very professional attitude either. But by the same measure, I'd be pretty hacked off as well. But he's going to recognise he's done something that isn't right.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. But what do you guys think of the news of the news today? Were you surprised about it? Let us know in the comment section. Did it come as much of a shock? Can you see Carlos playing for Bury? Let us know in the comments. We would love to get your thoughts on the matter. Just a few shout outs before we go any further. Dean Cooper, good evening, fellas. Have a good one. Cheers, mate, for joining along. Paul Granger seems to play the in place to be. I like that. We've got the COD Army TV evening, guys. Hope you are all doing really, really well there. We've had an extra comment coming in from Ben. Carlos could do a deeper role in a diamond and help younger players along the game. I hope Leon does really well with Woodbridge. He knows this stuff, as us coaches all do. Also, a great surname.
Fair enough.
I like that, actually, about Carlos playing in the deeper role, rather,
That I think that is the place to put him.
Yeah, it does make sense. It does make sense. And there he is. Brilliant stuff. Daniel Barnard, yes, boys. Cheers, mate, for joining along. We've had Jamie. I'm sure Carlos will be missed not only on the pitch, but also in the dressing room and with the young lads. You said exactly the same. His experience is going to be so... You can't buy that experience, can you?
If I'm honest, out of all these comments, there's been quite a few valid ones on this. Like really strong stuff, like playing him in the deeper role and perhaps the system's not suiting. I generally think what Jamie's said there is possibly the biggest thing. It's the experience in the dressing room and how that psychologically can help a team. I've spoken quite a lot about psychology in football recently, non-league, and I think it's going to become a bigger and bigger part of it. And you see these more experienced players sort of creep into dressing rooms, and I think they bring a lot more than just their footballing talents. We had Leroy Leiter was at Haverhill a couple of years ago. Last year, Dean Bowditch at Stowmarket. Carlos has been at Woodbridge for a couple of years. I think these big ex-pros, Cedric Anslin at Norwich United, as well as another one, they bring so much more than just... They're not just another player or just another manager. They've got another edge to them. They've got different routines that they can bring in.
It's the name, isn't it? It's then the pull of being able to attract a certain caliber of player to, if you're a current player, you want to play under that name, don't you? You want to be able to draw on that experience and improve your game. And when you know someone's been at the top level of football, that in itself is enough of a lure to think, actually, I'm gonna go to Woodbridge.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go to Bury this season or to Norwich United. And we've seen what's happening with Norwich this summer. The fact that Cedric goes, a lot of the players follow with him because he's no longer there. And obviously we don't know the full ins and outs, but it's clear to see.
Yeah, I think
a mass exodus.
There's a big exodus. Some players have signed up again, but also I think it affects the recruitment, as you've kind of touched on. Whereas a lot of the recruitment at Norwich is now coming from step 6, and the pull is slightly different. They have no doubt lost some really strong players that have actually come into the Suffolk area with Leiston and Needham Market. So I'm quite excited to actually inherit those into our patch as such. Yeah,
definitely. Drew's got involved saying Bury like to attack with pace and hit teams on the counter with men surging through. He's still proved vital with experiences to help younger lads coming through, where 100% will be a massive coup. It's going to be very interesting to see how this one all plays out. We have got Daniel Parnar saying Carlos Edwards to Claydon. Daniel, if you've got that kind of pull, mate, make it happen. I'd love to see Carlos Edwards in the SIL. Somehow,
while you're there.
I can't see that happening. we've had Ben, who's then jumped on board as well. Said, look at Stowe last year with Dean and how he was with the younger players of the club. These ex-pros are helping with the young players and making a name for certain non-league clubs. Yeah, raises the whole profile of the division and of the club as well. We've had Connor say Leon's a good coach. Can see him doing well at Woodbridge. Changed Debenham for the better when he was there. Yeah, 100%. Absolutely, 100% agree with that. He put, I wouldn't say Debenham on the map because they were already there, but he raised the level. It just, that's all it takes, just raising a club one extra level. So he did really, really well there. We've got Alex, who said it's a massive bonus to Bury's push towards playoffs this coming season. Yeah, hard to disagree on there. You can't, as I said, you can't buy that level of experience, and having somebody like that on board now on a full-time basis, it's only going to do, it's only going to do wonders for Bury as a club.
Bury are going to want to get promoted as well. They're so close, and they're improving the ground. You can tell they are getting ready for step-free football. They're there.
Yeah, definitely. I can't wait to see the improvements that they're making at that ground. But we will move on from that piece of breaking news to talk about another one. And this is horrible, Adam. We have to talk about it. Sudbury's FA Cup game being cancelled due to a positive COVID test, one we did not expect. It was a game that was due to be scheduled on BBC. It was the pick of the tie from the FA Cup preliminary rounds. Massively disappointing news coming out of Sudbury. It was not a Sudbury player who was tested positive. I'm just going to bring up the two statements on here from the club. So AFC Sudbury saying, we've heard that due to a positive COVID-19 test for one of the Burton Park Wanderers players, their team is now in isolation and will now not be able to play the match. All at AFC Sudbury wish the player a speedy recovery. The match is therefore off. The FA have awarded the match to us, and we will progress to the next round. In terms of Sudbury, yes, it's great that they're in the next round. Horrible circumstances as it may be, but you spoke privately with me, Adam, earlier in the day. It's the coverage that game brings you. That's the big loss, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And I'm pretty sure that there would have been TV money involved, and I'm pretty sure that TV money no longer exists for that tie. I mean, people can correct me, but there's been a lot of people banding about other ties that the BBC will get to instead so that they can still show something. BBC have got the coverage. They're still going to want to show something, and they're not going to pay out twice, especially when someone hasn't been broadcast. I was excited just to get a local team on national television.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm sure loads of people in the chat will agree with that. Like, it's really good coverage. It doesn't matter what the team is. Having a Suffolk side on BBC playing their non-league football is great for all of us. Yeah, because it shows the quality that we've got. And Sudbury are moving in the right direction. Like, they've got a lot going on with the academy and stuff. And I think they've got 3 graduates that have come through to the first team this year as well. So they're doing the right things, and it's a real shame that they're not going to be able to maybe immediately show that off. Obviously, they're through to the next round, but as things go, like, luck of the draw, will they just be an automatic pick to be shown for the next round? I don't know. How far could you go off the back of positive COVID tests as well? Yeah,
I really hope that their game is picked next, but I don't know. This is it's the FA after all. We don't know what their thinking is. But Burton Park came out with a statement on Facebook saying that they have to announce with huge regret we have to withdraw from the FA Cup. Confirmation last night, one of the first team players has tested positive. We are now in a period of self-isolation for the next 14 days. The advice given is that this is to limit the management team and players. League fixtures will be suspended as well during this 2-week period of time. We hope everyone involved has a clean bill of health. Looking forward to resumption of first team football. Please bear with us for ticket refunds. The committee is going to be working tirelessly and extremely hard over the coming weeks to put these things right. And I think really, as much as we're talking about the fact that there's not going to be coverage for Sudbury, there's not going to be coverage for Suffolk football, we have to send out our thoughts to the person who has unfortunately been tested positive. We don't know the severity of it. We don't know the situation behind it. It's a horrible thing to have to kind of report and talk about We just hope that their loved ones, their friends, their family, work colleagues, whatever, are safe, they're secure, and that they're going to be all right. Because as much as it's a football game that we're talking about, the bigger picture is that someone's been tested positive for this, and that is something that you can't get away from. We have to sort of send our best to that player, and it's a shame, but it's I just wanted to get that point out there before people start jumping on the
There's a couple of bits I've got an issue with. How far through the rounds does this COVID stuff go, where they just award the fixture to the other team? Is it only league teams that are going to have their fixtures cancelled? I think Pogba tested positive the other day. Like, if Man United were playing this fixture and it was like the fourth round, would Man United get kicked out of the competition because they had someone that got COVID? I don't think they would. But I know the season's got to be pushed on. So non-league teams aren't going to do very well by this. But this is honestly a sign of things to come for the coming season.
Definitely.
We have got to get used to this happening.
And Daniel Barnard said, get the BBC down to Witten. I wish I had that kind of pull, Daniel. Unfortunately, I don't. If only we could say that. Dan has followed it up. Yeah, I saw this earlier, actually. Main Road has been the fixture chosen to replace the game on the BBC, which is good news for them. It's extra coverage for them, which is great. It's good that the BBC are actually doing this and not just going straight in at round one. They've been doing, I believe, this for the last couple of years anyway. So yeah, it really, really is a shame on that part. Jamie saying spot on, huge shame for an amazing club and for local football. Couldn't agree more. I think this is it. We've had the serious stuff aside. From a local perspective, as you said, this was our chance for a Suffolk non-league team to be on the BBC. This was our chance to show what we are about as a county. And now that's been sadly taken away. You have to feel for everyone at Sudbury as well, because the amount of preparation they must have been getting themselves into was, all for nothing. It's such a shame
about being on TV alone, to be honest, let alone anything else. First game of the season, ready to kick off, massive buzz because they were going to get to be on TV.
Yeah,
and then the whole thing that you don't want to happen has happened, and
definitely. We've had Ben say it would have been good for them. Such a shame, but I wish the Barton player speedy recovery. 100%. Ben couldn't echo those words anymore. Corley's got involved saying, I don't think this will be the only game that is forfeited throughout the UK during the season either. Shame for both clubs. No, it goes back to what you said, Adam. I really don't either. This is not.
I think another game nationally as well. I think this is the second one. Dan Snell's the most likely person in the chat to actually know the name of the other game, but I'm pretty certain this is the second one.
That man's an encyclopedia for non-league football, isn't he? He's absolutely incredible with his knowledge. Drew Kendall has said it's a massive shame for Suffolk as a whole, like you say, as I think this coming season is going to be really positive for Suffolk football as a whole. Very, very promising and exciting. Yeah, it's a shame that this has happened. But we, as a county, we will bounce back. We will be absolutely fine. We've got a lot of good clubs in our neck of the woods. We will bounce back in terms of cup competitions. I think we're going to be absolutely fine, and it's down to you guys in the chat, and it's down to myself and Adam to continue to promote the football in Suffolk as much as we do, and we're going to continue to do that throughout the season. We want to keep the positive stuff going along, but this is a subject that we have to talk about. Kurt is saying fair play to Burton Park 2. Could have tried playing anyway, as a tie would have been a big deal for them. That's a very good point that you could have quite easily seen. Let's just push that to one side. Let's just push it to one side. Let's just pretend it didn't happen. But they didn't. Held their hands up and just said, look, this is the situation. Nothing we can do about it. I think that's a good point to raise, don't you?
Yeah, 100%. It shows clubs are doing it properly and taking it seriously. There's obviously serious consequences if they don't. So let's not get away from that. But it's good to see that the process is working.
Yeah, definitely. Dean Cooper raises a valid point. Poor lad not only has COVID, but will also feel it's his fault for the exit of the big FA Cup tie. Speedy recovery to the lad and chin up. Yeah, I echo those thoughts. It's one of those things. You just can't. You can't tell if you have this, sometimes people are not sort of symptomatic, are they? They have all of the symptoms and they don't even feel that bad. So it's one of those things. You can't help it. If we're being told to go back to work, you can go down the pub, you can socialize with people, you're allowed to go back to work, etc., all that kind of stuff. If you've got all of these kind of things going on, you don't know where you can catch it from. It's just one of those things. You just don't know, do you, really?
No, that's right.
Definitely. Dan has got involved. We knew he'd know. Absolutely knew that he would know Red Hill versus Egham. How do you do it, Dan? How do you do it? I just don't understand how he has all of this knowledge to hand. It's incredible.
He's a very useful person to have in the chat. A good moderator for our own conversations, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. If Dan started a show, he wouldn't need guests. He could just do the whole thing himself and just reel off fact after fact after fact.
Be his own guest and just dress up as all the different managers.
Oh, definitely. But a real shame from that part. We didn't want to be bringing that news. It was one of the things that we were quite excited about. We were looking to to talk about it in a positive light, but unfortunately, that is a situation. That is where we are. And one other piece.
Yeah, just before we go on, I think like last week we planned this and we planned to talk about the benefits of going through the FA Cup, getting a bit of additional cup money, and maybe like the fact that Sudbury had also got the benefit of the TV money from the home tie and the extra gate that it would bring. Yeah. It's a real shame to like have that discussion pulled from under our feet. Yeah. That would have been a really positive one.
Yeah, because we had a whole segment to talk about finances within football, and then very quickly it was like, no, we can't talk about that because we've got to talk about this. But it is what it is. As I said, nothing we can do about it. But again, moving on to some, more disappointing news, Adam. I can't believe we're having to reel off these, but these are the main talking points and we have to talk about it. Tackett Street, BBOB dropping out of the SIL, another club within the SIL folding. Did it come as a shock? I would say no, because I had been sent a lot of DMs about this and saying that we don't know whether or not they're going to be able to continue. They were very short on players for a couple of friendlies that we know about. It didn't really come as a big shock, but it's still unbelievably disappointing to see another club from the SIL dropping out and having to fold. Again, let's just bring up their statement before we kind of discuss it in a bit more detail, Adam. They said it is with heavy heart after 55 years. 55 years. We've decided to fold the club with the committee getting older and most of last season's squad moved on. We now feel is the right time to do it. We would like to thank all of our ex-managers, players, sponsors, committee and opposition players. We've had some good times, some not so good times, but most importantly, done things we feel with a smile on our faces and in the right way. We wish all clubs and players the best for the new season and the future. And then they tagged myself and the SIL forum in that message. Adam, you are going to be seeing a lot more SIL football throughout the season, I hope. Your initial thoughts on that? Comments, get involved. SIL people, let us know what you think about this news. Are we shocked? Adam, talk to me.
Yeah, so a big thing for me is this season I'm going to be going around with you and watching more and more SIL.
Here he is.
I've come away from Stowe, so I'm going to be, going full in on the DeeJam project. So I've been doing a little bit of research beforehand. You could see that they wanted this to try and work. They left it as long as they could. I think, like you say, the amount that how long the club has been going and stuff. That's where the shame is. Like when you looked at the comments afterwards, so many clubs poured in saying how they'd had good battles with them in the past and how the matches had always been good, always good spirited. But there was also a lot of matches of people saying, hopefully you can pick yourselves up, reform, start again. So, like with the committee where it is, I did have some awareness of things from last season, if I'm honest. Yeah. I just hope that there's enough in there for somebody to pull it together and say, let's give it another go out of the foundations of what was there before.
Yeah.
You don't want to see any club fold, do you? Like no one does.
Do you think that based on the statement that they've put out, that it's more to do with off the field and the admin and that kind of thing that's really taking its toll? Because, and I may be way out of line here, and if I am wrong and people disagree with what I'm about to say, please let me know in the comments. But I think finding 11, maybe to 15 lads who are prepared to turn up to play a game of football is often the easy part about running a club these days. It's all the stuff that happens off the field that goes really unnoticed. It's all of the admin, it's all of the preparation, it's the funds behind the club that are the difficult part. And when you start having those people withdrawing from their commitments to it, I think that's where a club ultimately starts to fall apart. We saw it with Westerfield last season with the tragic news when the gentleman that was running the club sadly passed away, that things very quickly unravelled and they ended up being on minus points in the end. It does seem to you have to have a solid foundation off the pitch as well as on it.
You do, but I think that's why you have to put a lot of respect in the decision and the way that they've announced it.
Yeah.
They've been honest about the fact that they've got an aging board, and it is quite likely that those people couldn't commit or didn't feel that they could commit as much as they needed to. Yeah. I think that's the important bit. It's the realization of running a football, how much it takes, and realizing that maybe you can't do it all.
Yeah.
So I've got a lot of respect for the way that it was put out, and rather than letting a club go to ruin, they've bowed out in the right way.
Yeah, definitely. I've already got people in the comment section telling me that I'm wrong about players turning up, but I love it. This is exactly what we want. I want you guys to get involved with your comments. As I said, I don't run a football club. I've only ever done it in terms of running a 5-a-side tournament. Do you know what I mean? Like Adam, I know the struggles of getting 10 lads to turn up.
I was going to say, like, I think players are difficult to get to commit. There's a few comments I've seen come through about getting players to turn up and friendlies being cancelled because teams can't raise a side. I've heard of loads of instances of it.
Yeah,
that's all been at SAL level, obviously, but I think that's quite worrying that teams can't raise a side for friendlies and stuff. I know the commitment's not quite the same for friendlies as it is for league games, but we need that. You really need that commitment from the start to give the management confidence. And if you're only going into a Saturday and you've got sort of 6 or 7 that can do it, you're going to start questioning whether it's going to be worth it in the long run. You pay the hundreds of pounds to register fees and all the rest of it.
Yeah, definitely. Let's start bringing some of your comments up on the page here. Daniel Barnard, we played them in a friendly and they gave everything they could, but you could tell they were on the edge. Great club. Yeah, real shame on that part. Fox in the Box 1, unfortunately, I think this highlights the commitment of modern day footballer. Interesting. Not off the field stuff, more on the field, which echoes what you guys are saying in the comment section. I just must be massively out of touch here. COD Army TV, sad news, just hoping Mendlesham don't follow. Yeah, 100% echo those words. I really hope they don't. Kurt, had a few battles with Tackett Street when I first came into the SAO about 5 or 6 years ago before they went up. Good club, but unfortunately in Ipswich, it's so competitive for signing players. Yeah.
There's a lot of teams in Ipswich.
Yeah, really is. We've got Dan Hiscock who says, is it me or does there seem to be more friendlies being cancelled this pre-season due to lack of players? Just hope they aren't the first of few that could go, which does echo what COD Army TV said just a few moments ago. We just don't want to see it becoming a regular thing in non-league football. We've had Paul Granger say getting 15 to turn up is the hardest bit, not the easiest. Well, again, Paul, you would know. You're in the game, so I trust your thoughts and opinions more than my own. But yeah, it's interesting. Paul, let me know. Is that, from your perspective, is the off-field stuff harder or easier than on-field? I want to hear from you, Paul. Let me know in the comments, mate. Just reply to that. Totally agree. Had 2 teams cancelled because of this in terms of the preseason friendlies. We've got a no-show. Oz quickly changing on the Stowtown FC no-show link. Announces more SIL. Brilliant. Kurt saying, not had any cancel on us so far, but I have seen games being called off. I've seen loads of games across the SIL being called off, and across non-league football. Obviously, we had Stowe cancelling one of their games, didn't they, due to lack of players? And you think about the money, resources, the players that they can pull on. And for them to pull out of a friendly was a big shock. So if it happens to them, it can happen to anyone.
It's a really interesting one that they pulled out of, because they had to pull out because of injuries. The week before, Felixstowe had to pull out of their friendly because of injuries, meaning Felixstowe basically went 2 planned games without anything.
Yeah.
And from a club point of view, for Felixstowe, that's not ideal.
Yeah,
but yeah, injuries more concern. I think budgets being a bit tighter as well as you go higher up. Teams aren't going to be as big, so a few injuries in pre-season when you start getting close to this eventual start that we've all been waiting for so long. Yeah. I don't think people they haven't got the ability to risk it, because they can't draft in someone else on a 30, 40 quid a game contract just to fill in for a bit, because that money just isn't there. Money is spent.
Yeah. Definitely. We've had Ben who said, I might have to come to a few games with you boys. Yeah, would love that. If people want to turn up, as long as you're socially distanced, that is absolutely fine. Stay away, but come along. That's fine. The new normal, hey? The new normal. It's a hard one to take. There are so many factors to take into account. It's the same with Sunday League. Yeah, I have to admit, I haven't been involved in Sunday League football for a long, long time, but I can imagine that's even harder to get people to commit. All it takes is for someone to be on a few bevies on a Saturday night, and then all of a sudden they don't turn up. Not going to name any names, Rob.
Sunday League football was just drunk football anyway.
Yeah. We've got Dean who says it now. It seems now once it spirals a tad out of control, it's very hard to pull out of it. Players play with mates now, and if you lose one, you lose 4 or 5. That's a very, very valid point. Extremely valid point. Paul has responded. Off-field is getting harder in many clubs due to the age of behind-the-scenes people. A lot getting too old. And then also following up, saying very few players retire, then help behind the scenes. Never really thought about that, but yeah, that's a good point. What do you reckon?
It's not like normal football. It's like pro football, is it? You don't see it. People hang up their boots and just go off into the sunset. I think it would be nice if more people could get involved, but I think sometimes you go to non-league clubs, and I don't mean this offensively at all, but it might sound dodge. Like, clubs aren't always that welcoming. It's always like some clubs can be a bit cliquey and everything's quite internal, and they don't want to change from this age-old process. So I think clubs do need to open themselves up to people coming in and sharing new ideas, and accepting there's going to be, a period of uncertainty when they do bring these people in that they may not trust as much to give those ideas. You're not going to trust a player maybe to make those board decisions maybe straight away, but you've got to see what the benefits of that can be. And it's a case of passing the torch for me, because you need, I think every board should really think about both age and gender diversification, to ensure that the future of clubs is in everyone's best interest and is moving in the right direction. Because if you had a group of 30-year-olds running a club, the outcome would be very, very different to a group of 60-year-olds.
Yeah.
And I think with women's football, walk-in football is becoming more and more on the agenda. Vets teams, like Vets League's huge in this area. I think you need that diversification of ages to really pull sort of teams through and have the right ideas across the board. So I think it's something that's really important to think about.
Definitely. Drew says fully agree on that. He's obviously liking what you're saying there, Adam. We've got, again, Fox in the Box. Players don't feel like they have to respond until the last minute, which is so hard. How easy is it to respond to a text? Well, Ryan, apparently very hard. Alex has said, especially when it's so easy to move clubs. Yeah, that's also a very valid point. Really valid point. Been quite a few Sunday and SIL friendly. Sunday football, I think, is massively underrated. We'd be surprised, Adam, but each to their own.
Well,
Drew firing some shots in there.
I was going to say, if you can take your sort of alcohol breath meter thing and test a few players, I reckon 9 out of 10 will be over.
Simon's followed up with your comment about Stowmarket. Stowmarket run a perfectly good reserve team. Why couldn't they have used a few of those lads for the Phoenix Stoke game to give players an opportunity? But that is something you're going to have to ask Rick Andrews and co. I'm afraid we're not able to answer that one, but it's a very valid point. Very, very valid point on that one. We've got the FM editor. Teams down here in the south walk away because they can't get promoted due to facilities. That's that's an interesting point to think of. Really, really is. We've got Kurt who says, I could never see myself not being involved in a club in some way when I eventually stop playing, hopefully a long way off yet. If you love the game, getting involved helps, and it is worth it as well. If only more people thought like yourself, Kurt, then we would potentially not be in the situation we have here. Stuart Spreadbridge, thanks for getting involved, mate. Thanks for joining the show. 90%, if not more, of committees are far more loyal and committed to their respective clubs than the players. When committees begin to waver or lose interest, generally comes from the players and their kind of morals and their loyalties, etc. Which is a very interesting point. Very interesting point. I have to agree there. It's very rare that you see people from a board level moving internally, or very rare that you hear about it.
Yeah.
So I like that comment, Stuart. Thanks a lot for that one, mate. We said Ben has got involved. Very sad to see so many teams fold. I wonder what my great granddad Bob Coleman would have said if he was still with us. Sorry for bringing up a depressing feel to this. For me as a coach, it's looking very bleak because you start to lose chances to get into men's football to progress in terms of coaching. Yeah, less roles are available for you if less clubs are here, which is a very, very good point. I know the world has changed over the past 10 years, but commitment from a lot of today's players is so poor that people don't want the hassle of getting involved on a committee. That's Jamie. Yeah.
And being on a committee, I think it's a different level, isn't it? Of voluntary work and time and effort. I do hear that, like, completely. I'd be interested. I don't know how many players we've got actually in the chat at the minute. If anyone is in there that hasn't commented so far, that is there anything that would directly put you off bothering to go onto a board of a certain club?
Yeah.
Is it actually an interest in the role itself, or is it the fact that you can see that do you really want the hassle itself? I know Dan doesn't speak highly for being involved at committee level. Again, like due to the hassle involved. So
yeah. Definitely. Adam, True Kendall said Adam's not wrong on the boost comment. Depends on the team, I guess. Dan, we will get your talking point on in a moment. We're talking about changing rooms. Well, is the next topic. I just want to read out a few more of people's comments before we move on. We've got changing room comments on there. Alex has said, I 100% do not miss being a club secretary, despite how much I love the club in question. Interesting point. It is a hard job, isn't it, Adam? It really is a hard job. I mean, you looked into a role, I think it was about a year or so ago, wasn't it, where you were going to have to be involved in the club, and you said the amount of time and effort that you were going to have to put in was ridiculous, wasn't it?
I had no idea, like, the hours that people put in. You see a club tick from the outside, it's hard to realise actually the level of work that goes into it. And trying to balance that alongside actually having a job where I can earn the money I need to live would be very, very difficult. And I mean, that's part of the reason why I've stepped aside from Stowe this year, because the amount of time that role took is monstrous.
Yeah.
As soon as you're involved at that level, there's an expectation that you're performing certain tasks. Like, every person on the board will have certain tasks they need to achieve, whether it's get sponsors, sort out fixtures. Do you know what I mean? Like, make sure the actual, groundsman, even like voluntary on a lot of grounds, like there's so much there that you will be responsible for.
Yeah.
You've got to know that every single week in, week out, you've got that time to do it. Because if you haven't, you're letting a lot of people down.
Yeah, definitely. Dan, you loved it. Only for you, Dan. Had to bring those up. Drew said, fully echo Kurt's comments. Nothing beats being involved in a football club or two. Great thing to be a part of, but also quite not watching the odd few games as a neutral. I personally prefer as a neutral, but I am getting to that kind of point in my life where I do want to eventually start settling down to be involved in a club in some capacity. But, I'll come to that bridge when I cross it. But I certainly do enjoy being from a neutral perspective. For the last few years have just been amazing, getting to know as many people as I possibly can. Dan has said 100% right, Jamie. When committee members attend more games than players, you've got problems. Kurt has said, I think it stems from two areas: the youth teams being split due to EGA teams, where players either get cut at 16 and stop playing or play higher level, plus more pubs closing, less social or sponsorship. It's a hell of a comment. Really getting into the deep depths of things. Again, Ryan's got involved. Too many jobs for too few people, and they are getting older. And the Suffolk Youth Football League on here. From a league point, the season close has been the hardest of all. Nearly 3,000 registered players. Whew, it's a lot of players. Cheers, guys, for all of your comments on that. From sad news, talking about a club folding to a much bigger picture, it seems to be that player commitment and committee commitment go hand in hand rather than it being one or the other. Would you say, Adam?
100%. Like, I'm amazed at how we've turned the topic that we were talking to into that massive discussion. But it does seem that without a concentrated effort from a broader range of people, we could see this happen more in the future. I think is where I would make a conclusion at this point. It'd be interesting to try and talk to members of a few committees, maybe get some opinions that we can drop in as like little slides, just to see what's involved. But I think whilst you've also got people with very negative experiences of having done it, it just shows that, when you do a job and there's a negative experience, there's normally a reason why. And I think you probably need to get to the root of that as well.
Yeah, definitely. We would love to have you guys on. If you want to get involved in a show like that, all you have to do is let us know down in the comments. Simply request a link. I'll send it to you and we can have you on either in a video format or audio only, if that is your cup of tea. If you're not comfortable being on the screen, on camera like myself and Adam, then just let us know and we'll make sure that we can get you involved. Let's get into it then. Changing room issues. We've had a lot of comments coming in tonight from various different people saying about the changing room situation at football clubs, especially from an SIL perspective. I'm trying to get the comment that I saw here a few moments ago. Bear with me whilst I do that.
I think the issue itself that's been raised is that teams within the furlough none are using their changing rooms, be it sort of 6 at a time or so. I think obviously not everyone can go in. I'm noticing that when people are being subbed off, they're going in and getting changed and sorting out straight away rather than parking themselves on the bench. So whereas the SIL have basically been told that you've got to come changing your cars, which is just nonsense. It's rubbish. Like with winter coming, like
yes. I saw the comment that said, just because you're not going to be in a changing room doesn't mean that you can now all congregate in the car park and all change in the car park. You have to basically have your kit before you get to the game. Well, sometimes for a lot of clubs, they're not going to know who's going to be available until, as we had from a comment earlier on, you're not going to know 24 hours beforehand if some players are going to be turning up or not. So how are you supposed to get a kit delivered to somebody the night before a game?
Well, just make sure that you drive in shin pads and studs, really, is the main point of all this. Because I wouldn't want to see anyone putting on their boots and their shin pads in a changing room. Heaven forbid use sock tape. So, it's really daft. Like, it just doesn't. I can't. Like you say, someone's going to have to do a delivery run of kit the night before. Yeah. You could be opening up a parcel to find out what number you're playing. And then literally someone gets the 14 shirt. Nah, I'm not in with that. And then they call up the next day.
I'm not coming along today. Yeah, definitely. But that is all it takes. I don't understand why, if you're out in the open, why you're not allowed to get changed. If we're not going to be allowed to do it in a changing room, why can't people get changed in the car park? I mean, it's incredible. From a personal point of view, it's one of the, it depends how comfortable you are about getting changed out in the open. But even that, if you've got players that are saying, I'm prepared to get changed in a car park, it's out in the open, what is the big deal? But we're now having that come back and say, well, actually, no, you're not allowed to do that because you're not allowed to congregate in a car park as opposed to a changing room, which is a confined space. But a car park is out in the open. I don't personally get that.
The common sense thing to say, though, is that they work out how many people that you can have with social distancing in a changing room per square metre.
Yeah.
And then every club just has to log the square meterage of their changing rooms and say you can use your changing rooms with this many people at a time. Team talks on the pitch, job done. That's the solution.
But we then have this comment in from Sam earlier on saying players will not be thrilled at changing in the pouring rain as what has happened this Saturday. This will see a few games cancelled due to players dropping out. Yeah, it could quite easily happen where you just have someone turn around and go, do you know what? Really not in the mood for this. Why should I get changed in that kind of environment?
Instead of their towel and like sliders, they're going to be turning up with a brolly and windbreak. Like, it's an absolute joke.
Yeah, definitely. Ryan said it's a fast, pure, and simple. Dan is saying, how many SIL clubs have appointed COVID officers? Question mark. Interesting point.
Where to go that one?
We had to train in the rain Saturday whilst the home side changed freely in their changing room. Wow. Interesting.
No, that's terrible.
Interesting one. Dan has said, why is it safe for furlough none and above, but not in the SIL? Very valid point. Very valid point. I'm not going to read the comment out from BF on here, but he said it's absolute something. So no furlough none players have the virus, but all SIL players do. That is what it feels like too. Dean Cooper says old school Sunday football feeling getting changed outside brings back memories of Chiltern Fields. Yeah, Chiltern Fields. Can't rely on players to bring kit, or if they can't make it, go and pick up kit across the town. Yeah, I don't know how players and management are gonna organise this. It just seems a very bizarre way of doing it. I don't understand it. Maybe people who have had to do it can let us know in the comment section how you've done it.
I'll be honest, there must be a more sustainable, professional approach than people getting changed on bits of grass 20 yards apart from each other. It is utterly ridiculous.
It definitely is. Kurt has said, I'm fine with getting changed outside. Fair play, mate. If you've got it, why not? But now the weather is turning, maybe not so much. That is brilliant. That is the best comment of the night so far. Absolutely love that, Kurt. Where are we now? Dan has said the problem you will have is full-grown men changing in a car park or on a field whilst there may be kids still playing on pitches. And clubs financially suffer because no showers mean you need to go straight away. Yeah, there's two massive issues there.
Yeah, bar money as well.
It's a very valid point. From a financial perspective and from a personal side of things as well. How comfortable are you going to be if someone has brought along their family to watch the game? That's a major issue.
I think there's money to be made in setting up a business that sells very small footprint sheds and just install 22 sheds at each club. With a chair and a bin in them.
Right, we're trademarking that. We can't. No one else has taken that one. You didn't hear us, guys. You didn't hear that comment. Shaw Watson is saying you can't use a changing room together, but you can go in the clubhouse and have a beer together. Crazy. Very valid point. Dan is saying, problem is, once the weather is here, players will head straight home after a game to shower rather than shower at the club and stay for a beer. The club are going to be losing money again. It echoes what Dan was saying a moment ago, but 100%. Well, 100% right. Ryan has said, where's the safeguarding issues around this? Let's bring up some more of your comments.
What is probably worth mentioning is that I reached out to the SIL today.
Right.
I've seen this rumbling.
Right.
So I have reached out to the SIL website and used their contact us form, said who we represent, and I'll see if we get a response, and I'll issue it to James to put on his Twitter because he's got a bigger reach than me, and then we can retweet or do something if I get a response. But I'd be really disappointed if I didn't get a response because it's obvious how much this issue affects the SIL community.
Yeah.
And there's going to be people that are connected to the other leagues watching this. They're not going to be feeling the hurt from it quite so much. And it might seem like a bit irrelevant and not quite as interesting to engage in. But a changing room is a basic need of a football club in my eyes. And stripping a club from that doesn't only have the safeguarding issues, which have been raised really intelligently tonight, but it's not going to make the experience of the game enjoyable whatsoever. And it will harm clubs.
Stripping being the operative word there, mate. Dean Cooper said, also tough mentally to build atmosphere and banter if you haven't got a dressing room. Very, very valid point. If you're a new manager, if you're a new coach, if you're a new player wanting to integrate into a team, where's that team camaraderie? That you lose that massively. So it's okay to put 22 players on a pitch sweating and touching, but you can't sit in a changing room. It is mental. Sam, could not agree with you more, mate. Really could not. Dean said every SIL club has to have a COVID officer. There you go. There's your answer on that one. Bury's changing rooms are smaller than Elmswell's, yet they can change and we can't.
And it's this thing where the common sense is the square meterage. If you work out the square meterage and say that you're allowed one person in for every 2 square meters or something, that's just me coming up with something off the top of my head. Then you could surely work out roughly how many you could have in, and there's a one size fits all rule that isn't obscenely unclear.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So Daniel has said, we've told our players to bring their own shorts and socks, then we issue them with a top. That's a way around it, I suppose. That is a way around it. Dean has said, we've introduced squad number this season, so that everyone gets their own kit. I suppose that is a way of doing it. Ben Smith, cheers Ben for getting involved in the comments, mate, really appreciate it. Said it's a farce, can go into a clubhouse with everyone but can't change in the changing rooms. Even if it was half the people at once, 2 meters apart, get changed in the other half maybe. There's plenty of
you'll go in and they'll just say, yeah, but you don't go in the clubhouse naked. And but I don't know when anyone caught COVID from just being naked. It's a respiratory condition. So I don't think they're looking at the right things.
Yeah. But this, it's, I don't know, but it may not be a league thing. It might be a bigger picture FA, people who are deciding these rules thing, that just can't understand the logistics and the common sense side of things. I don't know. But it just seems that a lot of people are angry about this particular subject. Can't get changed in the change room next to my teammates, but I can stand next to them and others for 90 minutes. Alex has said, totally agree on this. However, not all furlough none clubs have been using change rooms this pre-season. Alex, I think Dean has had a response. Is that in terms of a response from the SIL? Do you mean, Alex? If you have, Dean, let us know. Or Alex, if you know what the response is, then let me know. That'd be much appreciated. Ryan has said it's simple. If furlough none border leagues are using them, then we should do as well. Alex is saying if Adam hasn't been in a clubhouse naked, he's missed.
If I had been in one naked, you'd probably know about it, mate.
So, Dean, you've had a response from the FA.
Okay. He's gone a bit higher than I did.
Yeah, message me afterwards, mate. Message me afterwards. I would love to. I'd love to know what exactly it is that is said. But it just shows this is a massive talking point. Really is a massive talking point. And I'm glad you guys have got involved. But this is exactly what we want. If you have an issue or something you want to talk about, if there is something either good, positive, whatever it may be that you want us to to talk about, let us know in the comments, like you have done tonight, and we will talk about it. We have a set structure of things of how we want the show to go and how we want it to look. But at the end of the day, this is your show.
Yeah, so your agenda. Do what you want with it.
Exactly. It's your agenda. We want you guys to continue to get involved. So if you've got something you want to say throughout all of this, then please let us know, because that is a very interesting topic. And it's all been brought about and all been talked about because of you. So really, really appreciate that particular comment. Adam, shall we move on to fixtures?
I think we should. We've got a couple of announcements to wrap in with it as well, haven't we? So let's get that done.
Definitely. So where do we even start on this one? Let's bring up the FA Cup first of all. Let's bring up some of those fixtures. We talked about one that was cancelled on Tuesday night, but we do have a whole host of FA Cup games happening this Tuesday and Wednesday night. And this is a video that we have had sent to us, and this is going to be the game that myself and Adam are covering on Tuesday night. Witton United versus Ipswich Wanderers. That is the game that we will be covering. Adam, how excited are you about that?
It's a big derby, isn't it?
I'm buzzing to get back and do a match day experience. It's been so long for the channel not having one. It should
These
be
things are bread and butter. I bet you're like, everything else has just been something else to you, right? This is like back to where it all began.
Yeah, exactly. Podcasts, get in the bin. None of that anymore.
Be quiet.
Yeah, I mean, like some of the guests we've had on, not that bothered. No, I'm only joking, of course. I'm only kidding. But yeah, matchday experiences are coming back to the channel, and we are starting with the FA Cup. I mean, you can't get much bigger than that. But yeah, Witton versus. I've already lost the blooming opponents on there. That is terrible. But
James. Where is your head?
Oh dear, I'm just so excited for the fact that we're going back. But yeah, that is a game that we're going to be covering. Myself and Adam will be there, so hopefully if you guys are there as well, then let us then come over and say hello. Socially distance, of course. Make sure you maintain your distance, so we don't want to be breaking any rules. But yeah, let's bring up some of the other fixtures that we have got coming along for this week, so you guys know where you can go to. So this Tuesday night, we have got Long Melford versus Northampton on Chenix. We've got Witton versus Ipswich. As I said, this is a game that we are going to. Newmarket versus Walsham Willows. Hadley United versus Mildenhall. Kirkley versus Cogenhoe United. Diss Town versus Framlingham. Thetford versus Wellingborough. Haverhill versus Norwich United. Woodbridge versus Biggleswade. Stowmarket versus Rothwell Corinthians. Just for those who don't know, the numbers that are in the brackets are the level of football that these teams play at. Some of the other fixtures we have from our area are Bramford versus Benfleet, Saffron Walden versus Little Oakley, God Manchester versus Ely, Wroxham versus Ardsley Town, Galston versus Swaffham. A couple of notes on there. God Manchester versus Ely to be played on Wednesday the 2nd. All ties are 7:45 except for the Kirkley and Pakefield game, which is an 8 p.m. kickoff. Adam, based on those rounds of fixtures, other than the one that we are covering, what ones stand out for you?
There's some interesting ones on there. I think Dis versus Framlingham will probably be quite tasty.
Yeah.
Like both teams at step 6, like good opportunity for a step 6 side to progress either way. Like I think that will be really, really good. Newmarket and Walsham is an interesting one for me as well. Walsham have always, gone quite well, especially early season. And Newmarket look to have recruited really well. So I'll be really interested to see the result there, particularly because Newmarket are at home. Anyone following the league will know very well that Newmarket really play home games to their advantage using the 3G, 4G pitch that they've got there. It's a fantastic surface. So really good start for them as well. They're the ones I'm calling out, other than the one that we're going to, of course, because we're lucky enough to get a derby straight off the bat.
Definitely.
And I think we've got another new signing that we can exclusively announce as well for that game.
Yes, we have. Let's play that video. Yes, Whitton United have made yet another signing. They are not stopping with their signings. And we can bring you this as an exclusive. Here we go. Owen Betts. Owen Betts is the latest addition to Whitton United. Adam, thoughts on that?
I think they're building something pretty strong over at Whitton, if I'm honest. Really, to be honest, that there's players that they're getting in that are really going to strengthen them, and I should imagine a lot of teams in the division would want those players. They're really strong captures. Like we saw last week that Midas signed up. He's going to be the youngest player in Whitton's history to play in the FA Cup. He's 16 years and 2 months old, and he's absolutely class already. Anyway, he's already played a few games for him in friendlies and done very well. So, like Reece Dobson also came in. He's played for Needham Market, goal scorer. Going forward, they're going to be very, very good. They brought Remy Garrett in as well, who's with them at the start of last season. Went to Stanway, like really good sort of hold up forward. Like an exciting year for him, to be honest. If they can get the ball played out from the back and really secure the defence up, I can't see any reason why that push for sort of top 6 isn't going to be there, because they've got some serious talent there.
Yeah, definitely. I think before I get into your comments on here, because you guys are piling in with your comments on who you think is the standout ties from here. For me, I'm looking forward to seeing Dis versus Framlingham, purely from a perspective of the fact that Dis have had a lot of ins and outs this summer. And obviously both teams at a step 6 level of the game, furlough none north. I will be very interested to see how both teams fare up from there. Framlingham looking to bounce back from last season, didn't have a particularly great year. Obviously Whitton versus Ipswich is the game that we're covering, so I'm really looking forward to that one. Woodbridge versus Biggleswade. And do you know why? Because Biggleswade have signed. Do you know who they've signed, Adam?
Signed Nacho Nova. It's ridiculous.
100%. The FM legend.
Exactly.
I remember signing him back in like the Championship Manager days. This guy was absolutely amazing. Has obviously gone on in real life to forge a very good career at the likes of just a small team from Glasgow called Rangers. You might have heard of him. I don't know. But yeah, the fact that he's at non-league football is a massive coup for Biggleswade. And again, against Woodbridge with new management in charge, should be some very, very interesting ties. Let's bring us back onto the screen here before we read out some of your comments on here. So let's go through some of them. Dan said, you boys should do some score predictions. Don't know about that one, mate. We might get into a bit of trouble if we start doing that.
We want to be friends with clubs, like not accidentally predict them to lose every single week, not recalling what we did the week before. Yes. Which is what I would definitely do.
But you know what's going to happen. If we predict a club to do badly, all they're going to do is then just play that video clip before the start of the game. There's your motivation, lads. That's all you need to do. Prove them wrong.
Well, they would do if they had a dressing room to play it in.
Very good point. Very, very valid point. Yeah, Connor saying about our game that we're covering should be a good game, especially with the cash. Witten are splashing. Ooh, interesting. Very interesting.
They're making big signings. They really are.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with that. Ben Moore, matchday experiences are back. Can't wait for the videos to be back on the channel. Me too, mate. November was the last time I did a matchday experience. November. We're nearly approaching a year since there was a matchday experience on the channel, but we are back. Connor has said Dis versus Fram. Good. I'm glad somebody else has agreed with me on that. Newmarket versus Walsham should be a great matchup. And as you said, Newmarket with their home advantage. That I'm predicting a Newmarket win. There we go. There's my first prediction in the bag. Drew, step 5 versus 6 matchups will be good. Some good local derbies, but there's also a good mixture of unknown sides to our area as well. Yeah, very good.
Yeah, very true.
Very good point.
Teams I certainly haven't seen teams from our area come up against.
What would be very interesting as well is that normally you could go and scout those kind of teams before you play them. But are people going to have risked scouting and looking at how other teams play in the current climate?
I would be surprised if anyone's bothered. Yeah. I genuinely would be really surprised.
Yeah. There you go. Something to think about on that one. Daniel is again commenting Woodbridge versus Biggleswade. The Guillaume Balaguer chairman. Of course. Yeah. Yeah. Very good point.
He put up a little picture of him with Lionel Messi the other day, which was hilarious. When the whole transfer thing came out, they put on Twitter a picture of him with Messi, sort of saying that he was inbound, which was just funny.
Dan has said Reece Dobson is a serious signing at step 5. Yeah, 100%. When we saw that, we both messaged each other, didn't we, saying, how have they pulled that one off?
Yeah.
That's a big signing.
Yeah, massive.
Massive
signing. Like, it just left questions as well, because like Shane put a tweet out a few days earlier when they signed someone saying their squad was nearly done. And for them to bring in someone like that, it's huge.
Yeah, definitely. Drew's followed that up by saying Dobson will be a great signing for Witten. Sinim for Needham will be fantastic for them. Also, you guys thought of doing a non-league local Super 6 type idea. Drew. Throwing out the ideas on the live show. You
could send the old predictions in by DM. That wouldn't be a bad idea, to be honest.
Yeah. Adam, we might talk about this afterwards when the show has finished. I quite like that idea, actually. It gets into a lot of trouble with some of the predictions we could make, but
is anyone else in chat up for doing that? Just as a quick poll, like just stick a yes or something into chat. Would you actually be up for doing a Super 6?
God, it's just gonna be yes. But yeah, if that is something you would like, then let us know. We'd be very interested into hearing what you guys have got to say on that. James Scott, on paper, Reece Dobson a great signing, but hasn't settled anywhere for a few seasons. Will he settle at Witten? James, good opinion, mate. Love it. Let's get both sides of the coin on here. Very interested. Very interesting point from James on there. Connor. But will the money dry up and go back down again like they usually do? Very, very hard-hitting stuff on there. But we've had Shane respond saying budget has been cut 20%, one of the smallest budgets in the league. I have to rely on persuading players. There you go. There's your argument back.
This is the thing. Like, having Shane involved in the chat now is good, because we can, Connor made the point that he felt that it was about money. Shane's in to actually back himself up and say he's actually lost a chunk of his budget. And now we're hearing like the other side of it. Like, really appreciate you unveiling that to people as well and sharing, Shane. It's appreciated.
Definitely. Just to get a couple of things on here as well before we kind of move on. Vinny, forgot this was on. I've missed the whole thing. Don't worry, Vinny. This will be available to you after the show has finished. I don't exactly know how long these things take to go live on YouTube once we've finished recording, because we're trying to keep these to an hour. But as you can see, we're already on an hour and 20 because we've had so much to talk about, but it will be available for you to watch, mate. And again, just want to give you a big shout out again, because Vinny was one of the people who has put his hand in his pocket to help out the show, either via Patreon or via Ko-fi. You can do so if you want to join Vinny on that part, which was massively appreciated, mate. If I said, if you want your name appearing on the credits of videos at the end and shout outs on this part, just to help the channel with the running cost, that would be very much appreciated. But cheers from that part.
The links are all in the description of the video. On YouTube, but it's kofi.com/non-league nosh we're using, and it's O-FI. So yeah, that's where we're trying to go with it. Hopefully it's as easy as possible.
Yeah, definitely. Ben has said, Midas Smalls, what an unbelievable sign for Witten. I'm sure a Tiger will be proud, who is a quality player as well. Both will go very far in the game. Yep, 100% right on that part. And you asked everyone to get involved, saying, would they be interested? Sam, Alex, Drew, Connor, MC, Daniel Barnard, Dean Cooper, all saying yes to the Super Six. What have you let us in for, Adam? Thank you very much for suggesting that.
Looks like I can't give a cash prize though. Like, I hope you're not thinking that that's part of it.
Yeah, like me and you giving away like 50 grand like Jeff does every single week.
You'd be lucky to get 50p out of me.
Yeah, definitely. Dean has just said, I've sent a reply from Suffolk FA to your Twitter. Ooh, interesting. Right, let me see if I can get on that. I'm not going to be able to bring it up on the screen, but I can read it, Adam, if you think it's something that we should quickly jump on before we get to the weekend's fixtures.
Fire away.
So we've had a reply from Suffolk FA in regards to the dressing room issue that we had earlier on. So the return to football guidance is produced nationally in consultation and with ultimate approval of DCMS. The use of changing rooms for below Step 6 in particular follows changing room guidance produced by the government. We appreciate the challenges not having access to changing rooms brings and continue to request the national guidance be reviewed. But as yet, we have not been given a timescale for any review. Until the use of changing rooms for Club Step 6 is updated, a system whereby players arrive and depart in the majority of their kits is implemented, rather than using the car park as a substitute changing facilities, which is what we kind of alluded to earlier, Adam.
Yeah.
Other clubs of SIL level and similar have developed innovative ways of dealing with this problem, and we would encourage you to discuss solutions with fellow clubs. Wow. Wow is all I'm going to say on that part.
Yeah.
Talk to your fellow clubs about it.
It's the shed idea, mate. The shed idea is to go far.
What do you say to that? When you get, I'm going to stick up for Suffolk FA and say that they are clearly being told what they can and can't say, what they can and can't do, what they can and can't recommend. Right? Their hands are effectively tied behind their back. There's only so much that they can say or do, right? But that last comment, I'll read it again.
I'm just reading some of the other comments that come in.
SIL level and similar have developed innovative ways of dealing with this problem, and we would encourage you to discuss solutions. I mean,
it's just throwing the ball out of their court and just saying it's someone else's problem, really.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that. I wanted somebody else.
No, but I think there's going to be stuff through this whole pandemic issue where people can't want to take responsibility with things. There's some things that they'll say they need to take responsibility on, and that's just one of the ones that I suppose they're passing the buck on.
Yeah, definitely. Ryan, innovative ways. What a joke. Sam Stewart, we don't care. Talk to others. Club gazebos.
Which is just a non-permanent structure for changing in.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, what do you say? What do you say? It's
a gazebo idea isn't a bad one though, because you can get one to zip up sides for like £100. It does mean though that clubs have got to invest £100 for a small changing area for a couple of people to file into.
Yeah,
but
this is it. But I'm glad we have had some sort of response. We await from the SIL from your questions that you put in, Adam. Hopefully we can get a response. If anybody from the SIL is listening or watching this show, then please reply to Adam so we can have some sort of response about what clubs need to do at our level of the game. So let's move on to the weekend's talking points and fixtures rather. Let's get some of those out there in the open. We have got the Furlough None and Prem and the Furlough None North, plus the SIL Senior weekend fixtures coming up. So let's bring the
biggest weekend for like 7 months, people. We need to get excited.
100%. We are back. I can't wait to start coming along to some of these clubs. But if we start off with the Furlough None Prem, you'll be able to see here that the clubs and the fixtures that they are playing against are there on the screen, and in brackets is where each team finished last season before the season was curtailed. So we've got Clacton, Haverhill, God Manchester, Walsham and Willows, Hadley versus Kirkley and Pakefield, Long Melford versus Norwich United, Mildenhall, Wroxham, Stanway, Ely, Stowmarket, Galston, Swaffham, Brantham, Witton, Thetford, and Woodbridge Newmarket. Adam, one standout fixture from that league, please.
Clacton, Haverhill for me. I know they're not in the Suffolk area, so everyone's going to think, why have I picked that? Clacton have recruited wisely, but then got told this week that they put in to move into the Essex Border League, or Essex Senior League, whatever it is, and it got rejected. So essentially, this next year is just pointless for them because they're moving by default next year.
Right.
So their chairman had already described this year as a dead rubber.
Right.
But they've recruited really well. So I'd be interested to see how they do, because I would have them as being up there in the top 6 with how they've recruited.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Haverhill, all the facilities last year had a tricky season. They've lost quite a few players.
Yeah. My standout fixture is Witton versus Thetford, and it's not because we're covering Witton on Tuesday, well, tomorrow night actually. It's not because of that. It's because of how well I think both Witton and Thetford have recruited this summer. I think they've both done superb work off the field. Thetford manager came out earlier on Twitter. He was responding to a fan's comment, and he said how happy he is with the recruitment. It's going to be a fascinating game to start off with. I would have preferred this game to be a little bit further along in the season. Maybe
agree with that.
Maybe 5 or 10 games into a season, because then we could have got a real taste of what both teams are capable of going up against each other. But for that as an opening game, that's it is a great fixture to start things off with. We've had a few comments. Dan saying Mildenhall versus Wroxham, game of the day, and Connor said fixtures, Woodbridge versus Newmarket.
I think based on last season's form, I'd entirely agree with Dan, but I think Wroxham have recruited very well again. Mildenhall are sort of around the same position, I think, as where they finished last season. It's a tricky one to call. I'm just looking at other teams that seem to have moved themselves forward and moved on. If I'm honest, I think Stowmarket Galston will be an interesting one, because Stowmarket ended up having quite a churn of players, but Galston have recruited really strongly and really overhauled the club. Like if you just, again, I've mentioned it before, just look at their social media presence, and that's very different. Galston are not going to be that rock bottom of the table team this year, I don't think. No,
we really hope not on that part. Bill has said Long Melford versus Norwich United. Norwich are going to be a very interesting team this season. I don't know what to make of them because of how much incomes and outgoings there have been from the club. I don't really know how they're going to fare this season. So it's going to be very interesting from an outside watching them to see whereabouts they are. You know, after 7 or 8 games, you normally tend to get a bit of a gauge as to where a club is at. I'm really fascinated to find out what Norwich United are capable of this season, because we've talked about them privately, haven't we, about the stuff that's going on at the club, and I think it's going to be interesting to see where they end up.
I'm not afraid to say that I think Melford are a good team. I think they're a really hard to beat team. They've managed. They spoke. Their manager spoke in the paper the other day, and he's really pleased. Melford's really pleased with what they've got going forward. Norwich have recruited. They've kept some, but they've recruited a lot out of Step 6, and I don't know. I honestly don't think they're going to be able to do the bits they did last season because they finished so strong.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to read out one final comment on this before we move to the north side of things. Drew has said Woodbridge versus Newmarket for me. Both two really good sides. Be interesting to see how they start. Norwich will be the one to watch with players joining Needham and Leyson. They produce some serious talent. Let's move on to the Furlough None North. We've got Debenham versus Fakenham, Haverhill versus Downham, Ipswich versus Mulbarton, Kings Lynn Reserves versus Framlingham, Leiston Reserves versus Diss, March Town versus Great Yarmouth, Norwich CBS versus Cornard United, Sheringham versus Lakenheath, and Wisbech versus Needham Market Reserves. AFC Sudbury Reserves are the only team in the division to not have a game, and that is because of the withdrawal from Felixstowe Reserves from the league. So that would have been that fixture on that particular day. Again, Adam, standout fixture from this division for you? I think for me, I'm looking at Debenham versus Fakenham Town as my standout game.
Yeah, Debenham definitely got it in the tank, I think, to really go hard this year. I called out last week Ipswich Wanderers, I thought would probably go up this year. Mulbarton last year were absolutely steaming. They were really going for it. If Ipswich can make it click quickly, I think that could be a very, very interesting game. Really exciting game.
Yeah.
Both teams got goal scorers.
And Connor and also Dean back up your comments. They've both said Wanderers versus Mulbarton will be a great one. We've had Dan saying that Tip is March versus Yarmouth.
That's quite a local derby, that one, I think, isn't it?
Very interesting tie. Considering how well March did last season and how much Great Yarmouth will be wanting to bounce back from what was an on and off season for them, but they'll be wanting to bounce back very quickly. We've had Connor again getting involved in Norwich versus Cornard. Drew has said Debenham versus Wanderers games, I think, will be two really good games of those. All those teams look really decent and have been impressive to watch from what I have seen. Some very tasty fixtures to open. Again, you look at Ipswich versus Mulbarton, you'd want that game 5 to 10 matches into the season. Debenham versus Fakenham, you'd want that game later on to see what they're all capable of. There's a few games like that where, we haven't even talked about Sheringham versus Lakenheath, 7th last season versus 2nd. That's a hell of a tie as well. There's some big games in this division opening on.
Got to remember as well how quickly Sheringham established themselves last year, having come straight up and finishing 7th in a curtailed season.
Yeah.
Really high performers, but their management has clearly changed. Just going through a few bits in there in terms of management changing, I'd probably call out Yarmouth as well. They've had a serious sort of upgrade backroom wise. They've now got people looking at things from a sort of more technological point of view. They've got analysts involved and stuff. So people, they've stepped up. Step 6 is definitely stepping up. Definitely.
We've had Toby who said Debenham versus Fakenham. He said both top 4 contenders. Hard to argue on that based on what we've seen from the pre-season and what we've seen in terms of signings. Drew definitely agrees. Should be interesting to see how that league unfolds as the season goes on. And we've got one final bit to go through. The SIL Senior has a start date. We are kicking things off on Saturday. I am still yet to make up my mind which game I am going to, but it definitely will be from the SIL. We'll have a consultation, Adam, after this to see which game we decide to do. But we've got Copplestonians versus Henley, which is the Friday night game. I have put the little star next to that one. Friday night under the lights, Cops versus Henley. That is a great way.
Friday and Saturday, James.
Sorry?
We can do Friday and Saturday.
Well, unfortunately, I won't get into the reasoning behind it, but unfortunately, I'm not allowed to go and watch Copplestonians play.
Oh.
there is a reason behind it, and I fully respect the club's decision. They had a previous bad experience with somebody coming along and recording one of their matches. He is still in the non-league scene, who has put a slight dampener on things, but hopefully that will be resolved. We'll look to review that again, but unfortunately I can't attend that particular game. But we've got Achilles versus Hawley, Bilderston versus Halesworth, Claydon versus Trimley, Crane versus East Burgolt, Leiston St Margaret's versus Bennell, Old Newton versus Ransoms, Westerfield against Bourne Vale, and again Capel Plough. With no game, the odd team out from that division. Adam, standout fixture from that game for you? Looking in for
Crane versus East Burgolt and Old Newton versus Ransoms on the same weekend.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's going to be between those two, I think, where I'd want to go.
Yeah. It's an interesting way of starting the season up in terms of those fixtures. For me, I really don't know. Bilderston versus Halesworth could be a very tasty game. Bilderston obviously established themselves very well last season, having got promoted. Yeah. Halesworth, a recently promoted team, have got a lot to prove, and they're going to be a very decent acquisition to the senior league. Achilles under new management. Dean obviously is in the chat. He'll be very interested to see how his team fare. They couldn't have had a potentially harder start.
Yeah, it's a real
then Hawley finished second. It's a tough start,
but they'll be really wanting to make ground early on as well.
Yeah, definitely. But for me, I would have to say the standout one is Old Newton versus Ransoms, purely from a Ransoms perspective. They are going to want to hit the ground running. They are not coming into this division to purely just sit there and sit mid-table and think that they've had a good season. They are going to want to come in and be as competitive as possible. And Old Newton, who had a very good season again last season, being promoted, and they established themselves very, very nicely, finished fourth in the end and had a very, very good season. We have got a few comments in. Daniel has said Claydon looks like the place to be on Saturday. Well, of course you would say that, Daniel. Alex has said, interesting to see how Halesworth gets on. Only heard decent things about them. Yeah, they are a very, very good club, mate. I had the privilege of watching them last season. Good team. Vinny, all of the SL senior games look good clashes. Cranes and Claydons are the ones I would make clear favourites. Dean ready to roll. Yeah. Upset early. Westerfield to beat Bourne Vale. Big shout. Big shout considering what happened with Westerfield last season. But Adam, I think that's we'll wrap up the show there. We've got a lot of action coming up on the channel moving forward. Obviously, we will be back next Monday to talk over the main talking points from this week. We've got loads of fixtures to get to. Obviously, we're going to be attending the Whitton game on Tuesday night, which is tomorrow. So if you are there, come over and say hello. It would be really, really good to speak to some of you guys again. Saturday, we will be picking a fixture to go to. So there will be 2 match day experiences on the channel before we meet again on the live show. But I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who has come along again this evening, who was here last week, or if you were not here last week and you've turned up this week. We really appreciate what you guys are doing. The comment section has been popping off again. Absolutely amazing.
Numbers are up again as well on last week.
Yeah.
I've been monitoring it as we go along just to see what's going on.
Really,
another big increase, and it's been great to get everyone involved again. Really interesting chat tonight. It's really interesting. After the show, we normally think about a couple of things to talk about the week after, just to give you a bit of a behind the curtain look at things, and we'll do the same again tonight. But really, some of the content has been purely driven by chat, and I've actually really enjoyed doing that and giving my thoughts a bit more sporadically, despite how little I know on some things. If I can pad out with the way I feel about things, or just add a bit of humour to it, like between us, I think that's decent.
But my knowledge on the furlough non is not up to date as yours is, and your knowledge on the SIL is not as I wouldn't say as good as mine, because I'm still clearly a newbie to these kind of things. So we complement each other quite nicely. But the most important thing is that you guys in the comment section have been there to bring and make the show what it is. So we really, really appreciate you getting involved. Again, I will just have a quick shout out, and again, a cheeky plug to the guys who have supported the channel via Patreon or via Ko-fi. If you want to do the same and you want your name to appear at the end of each video, and you want a shout out, if you want to help support the channel and continue to grow it, because we can't do it without you, and we really appreciate the people who do get involved via Ko-fi or via Patreon. If it's not your cup of tea, it's not your bag, that's absolutely fine. If you just want to get involved in the comment section, that's absolutely no problem. But if you want to be like these guys and help support the channel, links for both of those are in the description. That would be massively appreciated. Let's give you guys some final shout outs before we go. Dan, good stuff, gents. Really appreciate you just coming on, Dan. Massive shout. You've been great in the comment section, mate. Daniel Barnard, see you at the Blue Circle on Saturday, boys. Adam, I can see you laughing. Have you found something in the...
No, it's Dan just like picking the location for us. He's sorted.
Yes, yeah, exactly. See you on the Blue Circle. Well, we might come there, mate. We might come there. Great show again, fellas. Dean, thank you very much for getting involved. Drew, thanks for turning up this week, mate. I'm not going to have a pop of you for last week. All forgiven now. You're here. That's the most important thing. Obviously, I'm only joking. Enjoy the stream, lads. Great stuff. And looking forward to seeing the match day experiences returning. Me and you both, mate. Well done, boys. Up the gold and black army. Yeah, I'd have to say I'd agree with that one. Simon, rather. Great show, fellas. Really looking forward to seeing some results to review. Yeah, we want to get into the nitty gritty, and it's all going to be happening from Tuesday. We can't wait to get going again. Nick, good stream. Cheers, Nick. Ryan getting involved. Well done again, chaps. And my brother Sammy, I knew you were here. You hadn't commented, but I knew you were here. Classic shirt. Yes, my family had this shirt made for me. Absolutely unbelievable. It was a great 30th birthday present. Logo here. It was kindly made by Awayo. I've been told that's the brand. So yeah, it's obviously here as well. So yeah, really appreciate that. Cheers, family. But yeah, thank you so much, guys, for getting involved in the comments. It's been absolutely unbelievable, the amount of support that you guys have shown us. We can't wait to keep bringing you this show throughout the season, and to get those results coming in and having the talking points that you have done. And as tonight has proven, you guys are the lifeblood of this show. Your comments keep us going and keep us talking, and we really appreciate it. An hour and 45 minutes nearly. Absolutely incredible. Adam, thank you once again for joining me, mate. It's been a good show.
Thanks for hosting, James. It's been a pleasure. Really enjoyed it tonight. Thank you for everyone for joining in. A really good one, and I've been buzzing a week to actually do this, so it's gone really well again.
Definitely. And I've got Paul with a couple of claps, and I'm going to leave the final comment on screen from Daniel Barnard's top show, guys. The best in Suffolk. Remember that. Yes, Dan, absolutely love that, mate. Thank you so much. But yeah, until next time, as always on the channel, thank you very much. Adios.